Hi everyone, welcome to today's live analysis session brought to you by Vantage. So I'll just give it about 1 to 2 more minutes for more people to stream in before we get the session started. So as always, if you guys have any questions or any chart requests that you want us to take a look at, do put them under the questions chat. So we'll give it about 1 to 2 more minutes. And if you guys have any chat requests, do put them under the questions chat and we'll take a look at them together. Okay, let's start. Right, so for those of you guys who just joined us, a very warm welcome. So for today, we are doing the live analysis session. So for this session itself, we will be doing a review of the setups that were made on Friday. At the same time, we will also be going on to the economic calendar to look at the key events. And I will also be showing you guys the setup on Eurodollar. So that is the general flow for today. Right, so for those of you guys who just joined us, if you do have any chat requests, do put them under the questions chat and we'll take a look at them together. So this is the live analysis session for today. Just a quick introduction of myself. I'm Lee Singh. I'm part of the team that's recognized as finalist for the best FX research, and I provide FX advisory to institutional clients. So if you guys have any questions with regards to the webinar, if you are watching a recording of it, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. If not, if you're with us live and you have any questions, right, do put your questions under the chat box. So I have the chat box open as well, right? So if you have any chat requests, right, do put them there. Okay, I got a chat request. So yes, so we will be taking a look at DAX as well as US 100 later on further. Okay, so if you guys have any other chat requests, do put them under the chat. So as always, right, with this session itself is not to be treated as investment advice. It's more for educational purposes only. So this is the agenda that we will be covering for today. We will first go on to the key economic events, right? So for this, we will use either Vantage Economic Calendar or the Forex Factory. And then we will move on to the trade setups. So for the trade setups, I will be doing a review of the trade setup that we covered on Aussie dollar, right? So that was the setup that we looked at on Friday. And then finally, we'll have the Q&A session, right? So we do have chat requests for DAX as well as US 100. So if you guys have any other requests, do put them under the chat box and we will take a look at them together. So let's take a look at the economic calendar first. So let me just bring out the economic calendar. So for economic calendar, you can just go to vantagemarkets.com. Under education and tools, educational webinars. So over here, you can see, oops, sorry. It should be under economic calendar. Okay, so this is the economic calendar. You can see the upcoming key events. So let's just give it a while to load. There we go. Okay, so you can see that for yesterday itself, we do have a few data, mainly in the Euro region, as well as the dollar. So coming up over here, we have different data, right? Mainly impacting the dollar. You can see ADP non-farm employment change. So this has to do with the jobs data. And then the key ones would be also the Fed interest rate decision later on in the day, right? So in this case, this would have a huge impact, or rather volatility, on dollar-related pairs. So yesterday's data on jobs opening, it actually did better than expected. So we saw that slight dip in the dollar. Let me just find this. There we go. So yesterday we have jobs opening data, right? So this actually did better than expected. So in this case, it actually paved way for more aggressive rate hikes. So if you take a look at any dollar-related pairs, for example, Euro dollar, pound dollar, right? You can see that there was this slight dip before prices push higher. So we'll take a look at the chart next, right? So let's take a look at Aussie dollar first. So we did a call on Aussie dollar on Friday. So let's take a look at how that setup went. And then afterwards, I'll also be showing you guys a trade setup on Euro dollar. So following that, we will also be taking a look at DAX as well as US 100. So let's take a look at that on Aussie dollar first. Okay, so let me just explain a little bit on Aussie dollar before we take a look at the setup, or rather we can just, okay, so basically this blue line that we have over here, this is how the trade setup looked like before we see any of this, right? So we're somewhere here in time where we did the setup. So this is how it looks like, and this is the projection. So essentially on the higher time frame first, right, we see that prices are testing on the weekly time frame. You can see that it's sitting on the support level. And if you go on to the daily time frame, you can see that prices are also testing a resistance area here. So this is the range that we're looking at. We saw the reversal on the smaller picture, right? So on a 4 hours time frame within the same zone that we did highlighted on Friday. And when you go on to the 1 hour time frame and here, right, this region, I believe we're on the 30 minutes time frame when we did the analysis last week. So for this analysis, if you want the detailed analysis of how we got these levels, you can also refer to the recording. They are all posted on Vantage YouTube. So in this case, you can see that we highlighted these two zones, right, mainly as the resistance levels over here, the one that we saw the reversal higher up, and the support level. So once we saw, oops, sorry for that. So once we saw this reversal back where we saw this chart on Friday, we highlighted this blue zone as the resistance. Again, the reason why we highlighted this as a resistance, we saw how price reacted, testing both regions as a support and resistance here. You can see that price held as a resistance and then tested as a support before it pushed down. So this is the area to watch. And we also have a descending trend line here as well. So in this case, right, what we did, having identified the level, it's that we look for, again, Fibonacci retracements and extension levels that line up within this region. So that's the setup. So you can see that for the retracement and extension levels, there are two levels that line up here, right? So the 61.8 retracement, or rather the 50% retracement and the 61.8 extension. So those are the two levels. So you can see how this play out now, right? So let me just remove this and let's see how it plays out. So essentially you can see that price, so the colored candles are a projection. So price did tap into the area, this resistance area. Let me just extend this coordinate. Okay, so you can see that price came in nicely, tap into this region itself. So recall when we said that when price comes into this region, we're not taking an immediate short. What we want to do coming into this region is again wait for confirmation. So this is on 30 minutes time frame, so you can go down to either the 5 minutes or 15 minutes to wait for confirmation. So you can see that this region itself, right, the break of this is the last support level. You can see this region here. So again, price pushed into this area. And you probably can see that clearer as well if I'm on a 5 minutes time frame. Essentially, you can see higher lows and higher highs being formed. And then what you see following this is that this is the last support level that we have over here. So a clear break and retest of this level would give you the short. So in this case, you can see that this is the support region. So you want to highlight this area here, right? So this is on the smaller time frame. So you can see over here, once price comes into the M30 resistance zone that we have here, what happens following which is that we wait for a clear break and close below the support area, which you're seeing over here. And you can see that price then retested as a resistance before it continued to the downside. Okay, so this is the region, and then this would be the partials, or this is a place where you want to close out the position. The reason for that is because if you take a look at the zones, right, so this is back to the 4 hour zone that we've highlighted. So recall this area, right, this was the last resistance turn support area. So as long as price holds above this region itself, right, this is still bullish. So this is on Aussie dollar. So this is a short-term move. And also this move was triggered by the jobs opening data. So if you recall earlier when we were on the economic calendar, right, the jobs opening data came in better than expected. So for a short while, right, actually pushed the dollar up higher, which is why you see the strong dip in the Aussie dollar. If you take a look at other charts like euro and pound dollar, you're seeing the same effect as well. So this is the setup on Aussie dollar, right? So this played out very nicely. You can see here, right, in the projection. You can also go to the 5 minutes or the smaller time frame. So if I'm on the 30 minutes, generally I'll use either the 15 minutes of 5 minutes as confirmation. So in this case, you can see same thing, right? Every time you go on to the smaller time frame, you want to identify the change in structure here. So you can see price pushing to form your higher lows and higher highs. It's still bullish market structure coming into this region before that break and retest. Okay, so this is on Aussie dollar. Now let's take a look at another setup that we have, which is on Euro dollar. So this is the review on Aussie dollar, which we covered last week, right? So we did a setup on Aussie dollar. So this week we will be doing on Euro dollar, and then likewise on Friday, we will be reviewing that setup. So let's take a look at that. Oops. Okay, so let's take a look at Euro dollar. And then following that, we will go on to DAX as well as US 100. Okay, so as usual, on the higher time frame first. So you can see that on the higher time frame on Euro dollar, right now on the weekly time frame prices, at least with respect to this move over here, you can see that prices are still forming bearish market structure. You see lower lows and lower highs being formed over here, right? And a pullback within the region. That's one. You can see that there's also some kind of descending trend line that's being respected. Or I would even consider a descending channel. So this region here. Okay, so this is on Euro dollar on the weekly time frame. If you go to the daily time frame, you can see this region itself, right? So ignoring the descending channel, this smaller move up over here, right? Just looking at the daily area, the first resistance area or the first zone that we can identify, it's this area. So recall that when we talk about zones in general, we want to try and identify areas where prices reacted off this region multiple times. So that's the idea in identifying your resistance zones. So you can see that in this region itself, right? We have this area where price came in to test it as both a support and then again as a resistance here. Okay, so this is the level. And then you can see in this region itself, right? When you take this zone, what we want to do next is to see if there are any retracement levels that line up there. Okay, I have a request, right? So do you mind if giving an opinion on whether pound yen continues bullish to push for higher highs? Okay, so we'll take a look at pound yen as well, yeah, after DAX and US 100. So on Euro dollar itself, you can see that this is the demand area. The supply zone or the resistance area that we have here, right? So once we've identified this, we want to check if there are any retracement levels that line up there. So for retracement level, you can use the high over here as the starting point and the low as the ending point. So if we want to use Fibonacci retracement to find resistance, we start from the high and end at the low. So that's what we're going to do right now. So the idea is to see if there are any retracement levels that line up here. So Fibonacci retracement of the move from high to low, open up the key levels. You can see that the 78.6 retracement, this level itself lines up with the resistance zone that we have. So this is on the daily picture. If you go to the 4 hours picture, you can see that currently where we are within the pullback leg is that you can see this recent move itself. You can see bullish market structure here with prices forming your higher lows and higher highs here, right? So that's one. So on the 4 hours picture alone, you can also see a support level here. So how we identified this zone, again, just looking at how price interact with this area, we have a previous resistance level. Price came in, tested the resistance level, it failed, and then it pushed higher. So you can see this region. Let me just put it in a different color. So let's say in blue, right? So you can see this region itself, right? So essentially what happens is that price came in to test it as a resistance, price wick above it, and then re-acknowledges this level as a support before it pushes higher. And right now prices are testing this region. So this is one area, right? The support region. So now the next thing we want to do again is to see if there are any retracement levels that line up there. So you can see that this is the last push up, the last move before that pullback. So if we want to use Fibonacci retracement to find support, what we need to do is to identify the low and the high. So for Fibonacci retracement to find support, you want to use the low as the starting point and the high as the ending point. So that's what we're going to do right now. So Fibonacci retracement of the move from the low over here to the high. Same thing, right? Open up this level. So these are all the Fibonacci retracement levels you have. You can see that in this case itself, the 50% lines up very neatly with this zone. Price that came in the first time, tested this region once over here, and then we saw that slight push up. So right now prices are still holding within the support area. You can see that the next support area that we have would be this region over here. Again, this is the first region, the first support area here, right? You want to round it to for now round number 6, right? So usually I'll just use 0.9850. So this is one area. Again, if you have to look at it in terms of line chart, you can see that there is this region, this area that basically divides the chart very neatly across. You can see this blue line, essentially price came in, tested as both a support and resistance here multiple times. Okay, so this is on the support level. If you take a look at the second support level that we have is this region over here. And essentially, just one more thing to add is that on this support level, we also have some kind of ascending trend line that's being formed here. So this region. So once price breaks below this region, it breaks below the low, right? This is the last low. You can see that again, in terms of just looking at how price reacted, there is this push down and then price came into this region to retest it again. So it forms our support level here. So once price breaks below this region, this is when we want to get out of the position. Okay. And then pushing higher, you can see that the most immediate resistance level that we have is this level, the last high, which causes that pullback. So this is one area that we can target. Okay, so this is one region over here. If I were to open up the same retracement level that we did earlier, you can see that the 78.6 retracement is just slightly above this area, right? This level where we want to get out of the position. So in this case itself, I think that we could see some more push up. Of course, when price enters into this region, again, go to the smaller time frame, check for the change in structure. So coming into this region, right, we're on the 4 hours, so you can go to the 15 minutes time frame. And same thing here, you can see that coming into this region itself, what we have currently on the 15 minutes is still lower lows and lower highs being formed. You can trace out the lows and highs. You can see that there's this break of the low, right? So what you want to see coming into this region is a clear change in the structure or a break above the resistance level to continue the upside. So this is my view on euro dollar. I think on the 4 hours time frame, right, this is pretty much the picture. We could see some more upside. This would be the first test or the first resistance area. And also keeping in mind that we have a higher daily resistance slightly higher here. Okay, so this is on euro dollar. I hope that this helps. And then next thing that we want to look at, okay, so we have a few requests, right? We have requests for pound dollar as well. So yes, Strong, we'll take a look at that later. Okay, so let's take a look at US 100 as well as DAX first, and then I'll move on to pound yen and also pound dollar. So let's take a look at US 100. So we did US 100. Right. Okay. So let me just request. So I believe you requested for this as well. The last week, is it further? Okay. So this it's on US 100. So let's do a review of what was it like. So it seems that the levels are still intact. So in this case, you can see that on the weekly time frame, we have this demand area. Our price came in, reacted to it. You can see this region over here. We saw that pullback before it pushes much higher. So this is the support demand area. And prices are currently testing this region. A few things to note for the weekly is that prices are still holding below this descending trend line. You can see over here, prices came in and it's still forming your lower lows and lower highs, even though there's a chance that it's sitting on the weekly support. So this is on the weekly picture. If we go to the daily picture, this was the region that we highlighted. So over here, what we're trying to say is that we're trying to wait for a break and close above this resistance area before we see more upside, and this would be the next target. We also did a Fibonacci retracement of the move, right? This is the push down and the push up, right? So essentially we took a retracement from the high and end at the low here, right? And that's how we got all these levels that you see, the 78.6 retracement as well as the 38.2 retracement. So these are all the levels and these are the retracement that line up here. So if you go into the 4 hours time frame, you can see that this was the previous high that we've highlighted, or the resistance level, right? So which is why the projected arrows are above this area here. The reason for that is because this is a key resistance. You can see just in terms of the structure, you can see that this is the last high that's being formed. So until there's a clear break and close above the last high itself, right now, this still serves as a resistance. So my stance is still the same, right? If you go on to the 4 hours or the daily picture, we need a clear break and close above this region. You can see that this is at around the 11638 level. So once price breaks and close above this level, we could see more upside. And the next target that we have would be at around the 12837 level. So as long as price holds within this region, right, we could see continuation of further push down here. So this is the daily picture. You can see over here, right? So essentially the stance is still the same. Wait for a clear break above this level. So I believe this call has been there for quite a while, right? It's been there for a few weeks back since when we Fada, you first requested for the US 100. So yep, so this is on US 100. Now let's take a look at the 4 hours over here. So you can see that on the 4 hours picture itself, if you take a look at the recent move, right, the push up over here, you can see again higher lows and higher highs being formed. And this is the last low. So you can see essentially within this leg itself, right, we could see a pullback, and only until a clear break and close above this, it will give us more bullish confirmation. Okay, so I hope that answers your question for US 100, right? So these are still the key levels to watch. They're still the same, right? Didn't change in terms of the key levels. And then let's take a look at DEX. Okay, so DEX is currently testing the resistance level as well. So you can see that the outlook is this similar to US 100. Okay, so again, let's go through the zones. So in this case, on the higher time frame first, right? So these zones, they were taken from the monthly time frame. I'll just put it in a lighter color so that we're able to see the interaction more clearly. So you can see that essentially this is the resistance area that we've identified. You can see how price came in, tested this area multiple times as a resistance, and then it failed and pushed higher. So you know that the last zone itself that causes that failure of the resistance would become the support region. So this is the support area, and we saw price bounce and it's currently testing the support area. So this is the view on the monthly picture. If you go to the weekly picture, there's something that we do want to take note of, is that in the weekly picture itself, you can see bearish flow still, right, with prices forming lower lows and lower highs. It is also holding below the descending trend line. So this is on a weekly. If you go to the daily picture, right, you can see on the daily itself, this is the last region or the last resistance area that we've highlighted, this region over here, the one in blue. So you can see that prices are currently still testing the level. So what we did with this is that we identified a few retracement levels, right? So we did a retracement from high to low, taking a retracement starting from the high to the low point over here. So this is the retracement level. You can see this region itself, right? So right now prices are currently sitting on the 78.6 retracement, this region here. And then we also did a Fibonacci extension. So Fibonacci extensions themselves, they're zigzag pattern. So you can see this area, right? So essentially we took those 3 points as the Fibonacci extension. And when we pushed, projected, you can see that the 100% extension lines up there. So this is on DEX 30, right? So currently prices are sitting on the resistance area. You can see that this is a resistance as well. Just looking at the high itself, you can see price coming in to test this level and then rejecting off. And it's currently testing this level again here. So it's the same picture, right? So only on the break of this region itself, you can see this high, this area. Would we see more upside? If not, coming into this area itself, right? This is currently the weekly. You can see on the weekly, currently prices are still holding below the weekly descending trend line, right? So the candle for this week hasn't closed yet, so we're not able to determine how it's like, right? So in this case itself, I would say that on the daily time frame, a big portion of it is really still testing this resistance zone that we have here. So we could see a slight pullback into this area. The first support level to keep a lookout for on the daily picture is that when we do see a pullback over here, you can see that this is one zone to keep a lookout for. Again, how so? You see how price interacted as both a resistance and then broke above it, respected this region as a support before it pushed up. You can take a look at it in line chart as well. You can see that there's basically this line that divides price very neatly across. You can see this level, how price respected this zone 3 times. So, okay, so this is the region. And again, if you have to take a look at the retracement level, Fibonacci retracement, this is the push and the pullback. So this would be the low and this is the high. So we start from the low and end at the high, right? So right now we're trying to use Fibonacci retracement to find support. So Fibonacci retracement of the move from low to high, open up the key levels, and you can see that the 50% level itself, let me just put this in purple so we're able to see this. You can see the 50% level lines up with this area. So this is one, right? So this is one region to keep a lookout for. A clear break above this level, we could see more upside over here, right? So this is the next resistance level that we have. So this is one region to watch for. And then a retest of it as a support to push higher. So these are the key levels. I'll just mark out the key levels first over here. Oops. Okay, so this is my view on DEX. Okay, let's take a look at pound yen. So, right, pound yen. So these are all the more popular pairs. So on pound yen itself, you can see, so back where we were, so this again on the higher time frame first, you can see that prices are sitting on this resistance region. And how we identified this is just taking a look at the lows and highs. You can see how price interacted with this region. Price came in, tested as a support, pushed much higher, and then we saw that clear break within the region. So this is a resistance area. You can take a look at this level as well. To draw just a horizontal line across, you can see that basically this zone prices are currently testing within right now, this area. So this is on the monthly picture. If you go to the weekly, you can see that we identified the support resistance areas. So there isn't much changes on this one. If we go on to the daily time frame, right? So currently, I believe a few weeks back, so we did the analysis on pound yen as well. So back a few weeks or a few sessions back, we identified these zones. So these are the support areas that we have found, right? So you can see price coming into this region is still forming again higher lows and higher highs. You can see price respecting this demand area before it pushed higher. So until this zones break itself, right? For me, coming into this region is still bullish. So let's take a look at the 4 hours, right? So currently on the 4 hours, you can see that this is the last leg of the move, and this is that pullback. So you can do before we do a retracement of this, right? What I do want to highlight on this itself is that we want to identify again demand areas. So if you take a look at this zone itself, right? Let me just go back to the daily so that we're able to see this moves clearer. So I'll just remove all of this, right? And let's do a fresh analysis because these zones are no longer valid, right? Or rather no longer valid, but we want to do a fresh analysis with respect to where prices are. You can see that back when we did the analysis, I believe this is on a 1 hour time frame, right? These are all the demand areas that we identified. So these are the zones over here. So you can see this area here. So let me just remove the retracement levels because prices move, right? So we need to do new retracement levels. So in this case itself, you can see that on the daily time frame first, right? So pound yen is still forming your higher lows and higher highs. You can see the structure here as well. Let me just draw it out properly. Okay, you can see higher lows and higher highs being formed. This is the last leg that we have over here. And if you take a look at the daily time frame, the 4 hours time frame, right? You can see that there is this support level, which price came in, pushed higher. And along the way, we also identified these moves, right? So these are the 2 support regions that we found over here. So same thing, what we want to do with this, right? Fibonacci retracement of the move. So you can see that there are 2 retracement levels that we can do. So first is the first move here, right? So you see that strong push up and the pullback. So Fibonacci retracement of the move from low to high. This would be the region. So we want to see if there are any retracement levels that line up here. So Fibonacci retracement of the move from low to high, right? Open up the key levels. So same thing, right? It's the same setup. Let me just open up the magnet mode so that I'm able to capture the points neater. Okay, so you can see that this is the support region. So this area here, I'll just extend this point across easier. Okay, so this support area that we have, this is the support region over here. You can see that how price came in, it tapped into this area once and then it pushed much higher. So this is one area. And then the next thing that we can do, it's again Fibonacci extensions. They're basically zigzag pattern. You can see that this is the zigzag pattern. So what we want to do is to take these 3 turning points and try and project if there are any levels here. So that's what we're going to do with the extension levels. So you can see 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3. So open up the key levels, right? Same thing. You want to just turn on the magnet mode so that we're able to capture the top and bottoms nicely. There we go. Okay, so this is the Fibonacci extension level. You can see that all of them line up with the zone that we found over here. So this region, right, this zone. So this would be the first zone. So for me, as long as price holds above this area, this is on a 4 hours picture. As long as price holds above this region, we could still see more upside here, but a break below this region itself, right? We could see price push much lower. So this is the area that I'm waiting for, right? So if we do see a clear break and close below this area, this low that we have here, this area, then you know that the next target, the next support zone that we have is much lower, which is this push over here. Okay, so this is the next area. So I would say that in general, right, this is the first area to watch for. So this level itself, it's at around 168.20. Okay, so a clear break and close below this region, this would serve as a resistance for more downside. Currently, where it is right now on the 4 hours picture, there isn't any clear setup. You can see that prices are not approaching any of this regions yet, right? It's just coming into this area. You can see again lower lows and lower highs being formed. So it's the same thing, right? If you look at the structure on the 1 hour, you can see if I just paint out the structure, lower lows and lower highs. So when price comes into this area, over here, right, you want to make sure that if you do want to take a long position, you need to wait for a change in structure, a break above the last high. Here, you can see still bearish flow coming in, right? And a clear break above the last high before price continue on the upside. Okay, so this is the picture on the 4 hours time frame. Once price breaks and close below this region, I think we could see a deeper push down into this area here. Okay, but as of where it is right now, there isn't any nice setup, right? I will not take an immediate sell from here. Rather, I'll wait for a break and close below this area first. Okay, because if you take a look at it on the 4 hours, you can see that it's still bullish market structure. Okay, so this is my take on pound yen, right? And these are the levels to watch. So you can see that prices are just hovering around these regions. And let's take a look at pound dollar, right? So this would be the last setup for today. Okay, so again, right, let's do a fresh analysis on this. So nothing much on the monthly. You can see that prices just pushed down. It broke the previous support region as well. So this area itself on the monthly, it will be a support and resistance level. This is the monthly picture. Over here, right, you can see this area, or you can also highlight just in terms of specific candles itself. I would just consider this candle here. So this region. Okay, so this is on the monthly time frame. If you take a look at it on the weekly time frame, you can see that prices are currently testing this region. It's also sitting on a previous support and resistance level. You can see this area. So there was this strong push down. Price came in, tested as a support. Tested as a support, pushed higher, and you see this clear break and a retest of this region as a resistance. So on the weekly, monthly time frame, it's potentially sitting on a resistance level, just something for us to keep watch out for. This region here, right? So currently on the daily time frame, you can see that again, right, coming into this region, prices are still forming a higher lows and higher highs. You can see this area here. Same thing, right? If you paint out the structure, this is the last push up. So as long as price holds within this area, you can see that just in terms of support level, this would be the support level here. How so, right? Again, just look at how price react within this zone. Price came in, tested as a resistance, and then it pushed higher. So this is the first region for me to watch out for. This area here. Okay, so you can see that this is the immediate resistance level. In terms of how we can check the retracement levels, if there's anything that lines up here, you can identify this move, right? This is the pullback. So we can use the Fibonacci retracement, taking the low and the high here. So that's what we're going to do right now. Fibonacci retracement of the move from low to high. Same thing, right? Open up the key levels. You can see the 38.2% retracement over here. You can also do a Fibonacci extension. So Fibonacci extensions, they are zigzag patterns. And in this case, you can see that we can take these 3 points to project the extension levels. And once you do that, you can see 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. Right, so this 78.6 retracement, or rather extension, I'll put this in blue because this is an extension level. So this area itself, it lines up with the zone. So this is the first area to watch for. You can see that there's some sort of ascending trend line that prices are holding above as well, right? You can see pound dollar and euro dollar, the setup is pretty similar. You have a support zone, and then you have an ascending trend line that prices are holding above. So this is one region to watch. Once price breaks below this region itself, we could see more downside. But as long as it holds above this area, I think that we could see more, I will still be bullish on it. Okay, so this is 1.1350 region, right? So this is on pound dollar. Again, right, as always, when price comes into this region, we don't want to take any immediate positions. If you go, this is the 4 hours. So if you go on to the 15 minutes time frame or even the 30 minutes time frame, you can see, right, on the 30 minutes time frame, you can see again bearish move, right? So lower lows and lower highs being formed. So as always, you want to wait for a change or a clear break above the last high to signal more upside. Okay, so these are just zones that we identify on the higher time frame, but for confirmation, you need to go to the smaller time frame. So it can be either the 15 minutes, the 5 minutes, just to wait for a clear change in structure. So that is the example that we saw on Aussie dollar as well, right? At the start of the session when we did the review over here, right? So recall on Aussie dollar, we were bearish on this level itself, right? We were bearish on this move itself. But if price comes into this region, right, there's always a chance that it could just push much higher, which is why you need to go to the 15 minutes, or in this case, this would be the more of the 5 minutes time frame over here, right? You can see bullish structure coming into this resistance area. How so? You can see again, right? Higher lows and higher highs being formed. This is your last low that you have over here. So a clear break and close below that will give the confirmation of more bearish, right? This is the region. You can see this support level became a support and resistance level here when price break and close below it and retested as a resistance. You can just see this candle, a clear break and close below this region, and then the retest of it as a resistance. Okay, so this is a similar, right, on the other setups as well. So on euro dollar, pound dollar, right? So these are the regions that we have. Okay, so I hope that answers all of your questions, right? I see that we have no other questions as well. So this would be the setup that I'm watching, mainly on euro dollar, right? And yeah, let me just bring this up. Yeah, so we don't have any other questions. Okay, so that's great, right? So for tomorrow, we are actually covering on, let me just go to vantagemarkets.com, right? So we do have the webinar schedule out. So for tomorrow, we are covering on trend lines, I believe. Over here, right? So Wednesdays and Fridays, we'll be doing the live analysis. We'll also be doing a review of the setups that were made, right? And then on Thursdays over here, right, we will be covering on trends in technical analysis. So today we covered a bit on trend lines, right, in terms of using the trend lines for the analysis. So for tomorrow, we'll be covering more on the basics of trend lines and also understanding how we can apply them to the analysis. Okay, so now that we have no other questions, right, thanks everyone for today's session. So do join us for tomorrow's session as well and come with any questions that you have. Right, so thanks everyone, stay safe, trade safe, and we will catch you guys again tomorrow.